Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to the Pipeline Podcast, episode 119. I'm your host today, Darren McClymans. Welcome to the Pipeline Year 3, Episode 1, Season 3, whatever you want to call it, the launch of a brand new year. We had a very fun 2024. We had a lot of fun guests, a lot of fun people, including two people I met for the first time last year, Tom and John, and they're joining me once again here to bring out the new year. Tom, John, how are you guys today? How's it going?
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Well.
Yeah. Yay! We made it to 2025. Yeah.
We did it, everyone. But at what cost?
Yay.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome back. No, I mean, we were talking before starting. We ranked Spider-Man movies last year. And obviously that's always nerve-wracking, bringing on new people that you don't really know. And I was like, I don't know. And then instantly, within the first 5 minutes with us in our main chat before even starting, I was like, oh, this is going to be a good episode. These guys are very chill. These guys are great. Obviously, I love your guys' podcast, and I thought it would be a perfect time to kind of bring in the new year over on your guys' channel, your guys' podcast. You talk about a lot of movies. Every single week you're talking about either a new movie, a new show, and I thought it'd be really fun to kind of prep you guys going into this new year and to see what you guys are most excited for.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, we're so happy to be back.
Yeah. Cannot wait to talk more about films and everything that 2025 has to offer. So,
honestly, we don't talk about enough films. I feel like that's something that we need to do more of. Talk movies.
Yeah, talk movies all day. Just yap about them and to talk to people about it. It's just beautiful just to connect with people and just talk about films in different art mediums. So it's just so much fun. So much fun.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think film connects people in such an interesting way, and I think it can kind of touch people in different ways. And I think this time of year is always one of my favorite when talking about new movies, because it's like any of these movies could be good, any of them could be bad, any of them could be mid. There's so much potential in all of them. And again, I think people are going to be more excited about some than others, depending on their interest in that franchise, or their upbringing, or their thoughts on a director or a producer, or whatever it may be. So this is always one of my favorite episodes to do. I should also say, and we'll start this in a little bit here, but it's always weird because it's the movies I talk about here are never my favorite films of the year, right? It's I feel like my favorite films of the year are always the ones I haven't heard of, right? They're those Oscar movies, or Wild Robot last year was my favorite movie in 2024. I did not have that on my list at the start of the year because I didn't know it existed yet. So that's definitely a big part of it. So again, I'll be interested, looking back at this time next year, be like, oh, okay, did any of the movies that are my favorite make it to the end of the line?
Yeah. That's an excellent top pick for 2024, I must say.
It is just an emotional movie. I loved it. So good.
Yeah, last night I was catching up on some of your reviews the other day, and I listened to your Wild Robot episode, and I too was very disappointed when I learned Bill Nye the Science Guy was not in this movie. You fooled me for a second. I was like, what? He is? That's such a perfect cast. That's so much fun. I was like,
no.
Oh my god! My brain was going somewhere, and I was thinking, wait, Bill Nye the Science Guy. It was.
Maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the one. You never know.
Maybe he's going to be in this film. Somewhere in 2025, he's going to be behind the scenes somewhere, or just a cameo or something. That'd be funny. Yeah.
I mean, we got a Wild Robot 2 coming on, so maybe they'll get him in that one. Or...
Oh my god! Yeah. Can we get that trending or something? Hashtag Bill Nye for Wild Robot 2.
Yeah. What could it be? The animal? Which animal would he be?
That's a good question, actually.
Yeah. I see him as a beaver. I don't know why. I don't know.
I like that.
Something about him just beaver-like, I guess.
Maybe he's so there was the beaver in the first movie, the Matt Berry beaver. Maybe he's his husband or something, who comes home and is like, "Where's the dam gone? Where's our home?" And he's like, "Well, the tree, it's a whole thing."
Yeah,
and he could engineer something out of the tree and just make it something, a makeshift something. I don't know, out of my imagination, something. I don't. That'll be up for the sequel, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all about him. There's no Roz. There's no.
Yeah. Oh,
it's just he's the main character.
I mean, that's
now,
what
it's
happens
fine.
in the books, right?
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. In the lore. Yeah.
But yeah, hello, One Marvel fan. I hope you're doing well. Hello, Lance. Hope you're also doing well. But I mean, for my kind of question for today, because I like to introduce these episodes with a question, to my guest here. And again, normally I ask like what you guys have been watching, but what I'm actually really curious about, since we are looking at the most anticipated for this year, do you guys remember what your most anticipated things were last year? Like this time last year, do you guys remember what you were most excited for then?
Oh no!
Ooh.
Wait,
We did a video on this.
we did this. Do you remember, Tom? Do you remember?
I think we had Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes up
Yes.
there. That was one that we were really excited for.
I mean, the trailer looked amazing.
Yeah.
I loved the visuals. I thought, it was going to be an exciting trilogy. I mean, it wasn't disappointing, but it was a good film. It was a good film, but there was many hits, that came out in 2025 that overshadowed Kingdom. So it's a great movie. I recommend it.
Yeah.
That was
I'm with you.
that was our most anticipated, that one. Yeah.
It was something like that. It wasn't like a massive release, but I'm with you, Darren. I'm normally, my favorite films are normally the ones that I don't expect. Like I wasn't, I haven't listened back to the episode, but I'm pretty sure that we didn't say, oh yes, Quiet Place Day 1, and that ended up being one of my favorite films of the year. I was so surprised and so just enchanted by that film. But I have a really bad track record. We've done quite a few most anticipated videos, and I'm pretty sure the 2022 or it was, I think it was 2022 and 2023 because the film was delayed a bunch of times. The Flash, and I was like, guys, I can't wait for the Flash. No. And there me and John were. I was wearing my Flash t-shirt, and we literally ran for the train to get to this film, and then it was just I didn't like it at all. And I was crushed.
We were crushed. Like we walked out of the cinema, we felt like ashamed. We were just walking so slowly. And you know that clip when I don't know which character it was, but it was like Aquaman or somebody else that fell into the puddle. That's how exactly how I felt when I watched this movie. I was like, "What did I just watch?" Yeah.
That one was so weird though too, because it's like everyone and their grandma said it was a masterpiece. You had Tom Cruise and you had like James Gunn and all these.
Stephen King.
Stephen King was like, it's a masterpiece. For like, I said in an episode was back in 2023. I think I was like, either this movie's a masterpiece or everyone has joined a cult. And it's seemingly the latter, unfortunately. Everyone just drank the Kool-Aid, and everyone was, I don't know, hypnotized.
The one kind of I don't know, silver lining of the cloud is that I then went home and I watched The Flash season 1 episode 15 Out of Time, which is just phenomenal. And I think I might have then watched the second part, but that's the one where Barry first goes back in time and with the tidal wave, and I was just like, now this is the Flash. I had to remind myself why I loved the Flash.
Yeah. Oh man,
that
episode
is good.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite episode in the entire show. Like on all cylinders. Pick. That episode is just perfect. It's so good. But no, like I was thinking about this week, like, okay, what was I really excited for, and like what were some of my favorites? And obviously I said some good ones. Like I said Deadpool I thought was great and stuff like that. But I vouched for Joker 2 all year. All year I was like, man, this movie, like the first one was great for the most part. Like this is going to be a masterpiece, and it existed, it's whatever. I thought Ghostbusters was going to be good, and I thought that was kind of...
Darren, no.
No, Darren, no. I'm sorry. Man.
Yeah, that unfortunately does stand as my least favorite film of the year. I wasn't a fan of that. As out of all, I think 71 was my final count. I think maybe 72, in fact, and it was right down there.
Wow,
which is a real shame because it's Ghostbusters. You would expect more.
Yeah,
I also vouched, unfortunately, and I think I had valid reason for vouching for it because it's one of the greatest trilogy of all time. That was Kung Fu Panda 4. I was like, this is going to be a masterpiece. It has to be.
We were kind of excited for that, weren't we, Tom?
Yeah, I remember when the title dropped and you got like the kind of Pose theme, and I was like, this is going to be
Ah,
great. Even I was sat in the cinema and I was in denial.
you were locked in. You were like, yes, and then you
Yeah,
just went into depression, just spiraled
yeah.
down. Yeah.
But almost that's kind of good. Like, I would be really disappointed if I looked at my top 10 of the year and it was all films that I'd predicted. Whereas if you'd have told me, my favorite film is going to be, or among my favorites are going to be Blitz or We Live in Time, I wouldn't have even heard of these films.
Yeah. Either there's some hidden gems that we don't particularly hear about in advertisement or like in select theaters. You just go in and just see what's new, or there's a huge film and you think, oh, that's going to be terrible, but then again, it's going to be turns out amazing. So that's just like the exciting side of cinema, really. Just go in and see what's there.
It's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to be jumping into a couple of news stories here. They're all like kind of comic booky themed, like superhero movies and shows and stuff like that I do want to kind of dive into.
Well, I love comic books.
Love comic books, and this is a great year for comic book movies and shows. Hopefully it's going to be a good year for them. I don't want to jinx it. This first one is for a 2026 movie, and I think this one is the biggest like water is wet like news story I've ever covered on the show. Jason Momoa has been cast in upcoming Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow as Lobo. Now I talked about this back in 2023. Like this was a like every other couple months. I feel like there was like Jason was teasing more stuff. He was saying more. I would do, like we were heading upon Aquaman 2, and he was still talking about Lobo instead of Aquaman. When I talked about Aquaman 2 on this channel, I said this felt like a audition tape for Lobo instead of Aquaman 2. Tom, let's start with you. Have you seen this news? Are you excited for the superhero movie? Are you excited for Jason to don this Lobo character?
I mean, I saw the news and it is very exciting because, yeah, I do think that he is pretty perfect. And this week I actually ordered Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, and so I'm really excited to read that. I know that Lobo isn't actually in it, and so I'm interested to see like where potentially he may fit in. I think that from what we've seen so far, I think James Gunn's whole universe is going to be really good at making superheroes an established part. And I don't expect this to be a massive role. I think that will probably come in the future. I think if this is popular, we may see a Lobo movie or TV show or whatever. And I think it would be good to kind of get a little taster of that. Hopefully it doesn't feel too kind of cameo-y. I think it's interesting that we're getting Jason Momoa. Like who knows what this means for any other actors who may, want to come back from the old guard as different characters. But most of all, I want to see him having fun. Like Aquaman 2 and Fast X were two films that I just thought Jason Momoa was having the time of his life, and he just didn't give, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but he did not give one. He didn't give a single shite about what anyone thought about him in those movies. He was just having a great time. Yeah. And that's what I want to see from this as well. And I think he's got the enthusiasm.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
How about you, John?
I mostly agree what Tom says about Jason Momoa as Lobo. I think Lobo is a very fun and metal character. I've seen him appear a bunch of times in graphic novels. I think Jason is going to have a lot of fun playing as this character. I wonder if he's going to have a big role for as the antagonist for the movies, or is it going to be joined up with other people? Or other villains in the stories, what James Gunn has planned. So it is very cool to see him back into like a different superhero world it's still DC, but it feels like we've come to a different one. We've gone from the DCEU to the DCU. So I wondered like what his direction is going to be like as Lobo for that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it and see what he's going to do as Lobo.
Yeah, I agree. I think like one of the things I love in this sphere of comic book movies, I think there's so many times people are just, it's going to be a big money check. I'm there because blah, 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 whatever reason. But I love, not even just in the comic sphere in general, when people are passionate about these characters that they play, I think that's your first step. You know, like, say what you want about Black Adam, but I loved how much Dwayne Johnson loved Black Adam. Like, he loved Black Adam more than anyone's ever loved anything, I feel like. I feel like Jason Momoa is kind of in a very similar spot where he just loves Lobo. He just, like, you know, that guy he thinks is cool, and he wants to play that. And when you, I mean, look at Jason Momoa. He just looks like Lobo. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's one of those, like, yeah, it was like the gods destined this man to play this role in like a weird way. So yeah,
you do get to see that in the art as well. Like, I do like the art that is incorporated like with Jason, and then you get to see Lobo next to it. It's just so uncanny. Right. It feels like, yeah.
It's also like a very early, you know, fan cast. This right alongside, I feel, Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, or, you know, Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, ones that we have now seen come to fruition. These are fan casts that have been there since very, you know, it feels like very early days of these kind of fandoms gaining traction, and to see it, I think is really interesting.
I agree. I think it's very cool. Speaking of things they very popular fandom, we have Daredevil Born Again coming out in 2025. And this was an interesting story that I thought was kind of interesting. So Charlie Cox seems to be involved in Avengers Doomsday, according to his gym. So I'm not sure if you guys heard this story, but the gym that he's been training at made a post a couple of days ago being like, man, it's been so great working with Charlie. We can't wait to see him in Avengers Doomsday. And everyone's like, what? They confirmed it, and they recently actually edited the post and just being like, "Oh, we can't wait to see him in his upcoming."
Feige got to them.
Yes.
Feige came knocking on the door,
like Daredevil style. He just walked in and knocked on, and just like, I see.
They were all in a hallway.
Yeah, in the hallway. Yeah.
Now, I mean, obviously, there, you know, this could be a scenario where they thought it was Avengers, but it's just, you know, Daredevil season 2 that we're going to be getting. That's always an option, or some other project. But just hypothetically, playing in this hypothetical world, is Daredevil someone that you would like to see in the Avengers lineup come 2026, 2027? Because again, like, it, you know, place yourself back in like 2020, and like the words Daredevil and Avengers next to each other is crazy to me. Like, how far we've come that's even a conversation, that's even like a possibility, is really crazy.
Oh yeah, for
absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, it's like something that we thought for a while, like, you know, looking back at like the Netflix TV show, like how Daredevil becomes alongside with the Avengers somehow, but it'd be a cool interaction somehow, because I always think about like how the characters would interact with each other, you know, in the future. Like, oh, what if, you know, Rocket talks to Tony Stark, or something like that. But it'll be interesting to see him in this. But I feel conflicted. Like, I wondered how he's gonna be. I can't believe I'm referencing this meme. Like, oh my god, this is gonna be Avengers level threat or something like that. Just like how he's gonna be fit into this, you know, situation. Yeah, you just put in there. But I just find it funny that it's just this gym. You know, he just goes to, and then people just asked him, and then imagine that he's working out, like doing, I don't know, bench presses or something, and then somebody asks him like, "Oh, hey, Charlie, what are you doing?" Like, "I'm just training for just Doomsday." It was like, "What, the Doomsday? What are you talking about?" That's like the most odd interaction to have in the gym, just like doing that. Yeah, but yeah, I'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
I'll see where it goes with that with Daredevil.
Yeah, no, I think it's. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I imagine like the portal scene in Endgame, and I remember being in cinema and being like, "This is incredible." And, you know, I know that they literally make a joke out of the fact that wanting more is a bit silly because everyone's there. But I was like, "Please, Defenders, come out of a portal! Please, please!" Like, you know, I'd watched it all at that point, and I was just like, "This is like the thing that we need." And it didn't happen, and that is a shame. And I would love to see all 4 of those back, not just Charlie Cox as Daredevil.
Right.
But I mean, it would be cool. I think, you know, but before seeing anyone in the film, I need it to have purpose, you know, in terms of the narrative, in terms of, you know, thematically. I think that these films are going to run the risk of having too many characters, and I know that was the case with Infinity War, especially, and Infinity War pretty much nailed that. But like, I don't want it to be a case where it's like, hey everyone, Daredevil's here, and Daredevil's like, yes, it is me, and then we just move on. Like sometimes it can feel like characters get like one line and we really skip
Sure.
over. Like I think
Yeah.
Infinity War does it mostly well, but Endgame is an example of like, Quill comes back to Earth and you don't get a chance for him to react, or Bucky and Steve kind of reunite in that final battle, and we don't get that moment. And so I do think that if Daredevil's just in the background, and if he has like 2 lines, then I'm
Right.
sorry, I just don't care. But if he feels like an actual character, an actual human, then that is what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, there's a weird feeling, I think, going into this Avengers movie that I wish I wasn't feeling, because there is, with the Downey announcement, with the Evans announcement, with the Haley announcement, like, again, I'm trying to reserve some judgment until we see it, because maybe I come out and be like, oh, that was the best choice they could have gone with, or whatever. But like, there is a feeling of like corporate, slop in a way, unfortunately. Just like, like there's a little bit of resentment to me, because I think Avengers 5 for me was so exciting, because like, oh, we get to see all these new characters interact for the first time. This is so exciting. This is, kind of all these things. Like, oh no, actually, it's just kind of the characters you've known for the last, 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, I guess so. I don't know. So, again, like, like Daredevil being in an Avengers movie is extremely exciting. Like, I want to see how he interacts with Shang-Chi and She-Hulk and, Miss Marvel and all these characters and stuff like that. But it's like, I don't know. Like, again, look, we don't know anything yet. So this movie could be anything, like, at this point in time. So we'll see. I hope it's good. Like, him being in there, if this is the case, is exciting for sure. And I think very like there was such a frustrating moment in my Spider-Man the Spider-Man No Way Home premiere. Dead silent when Charlie showed up in that movie, and that broke my heart. That was like, no, he's like, you should be clapping. This is a huge moment. My friend turned next to me and be like, who's that? I was like, oh, how dare you say
Oh
this?
no.
So I want him to have that, like, that big name where everyone's like, oh no, that's Daredevil. I know Daredevil, and I want kids dressing up like him for like Halloween and stuff like that. So
Hey,
we'll
I
see.
dressed up as him in Halloween 2022, so I can be that dream.
Yay. Amazing. All right, last thing here I want to kind of talk about. And this isn't that much news, but I do think it would be at least an interesting conversation. So obviously we're getting the DCU started with Creature Commandos at the moment, and we recently had the Superman trailer. Stuff is coming out almost every day at this point. James Gunn confirms that we will not see the Batman's origin in the DCU. And again, this isn't really news, because we had heard about Brave and the Bold being a story about him and Damian, and we kind of heard that the Batman family was already kind of established and stuff like that. So not news at all, but I did kind of want to hear you guys' thoughts on like the prospect of superhero origins in movies, because I feel like that concept is kind of faded away within these last couple of years, with everyone, with Spider-Man, with Superman, with Batman, everyone kind of knowing those origin stories and kind of separating yourselves, and kind of what your thoughts on like that, I guess, kind of genre of superhero movies kind of going away.
I mean, there's a fine line, because on the one hand, you have something like the Batman, which it doesn't show the origin, but very much, sins of the father, and it's a core part of his character that film doesn't ignore. And I don't think that any film that has omitted it, like the MCU Spider-Man, it's not my favorite, but I don't think it necessarily suffers because it doesn't show the whole thing of Uncle Ben. If anything, they kind of twist that, and I kind of think it's for the better that they do that. And so, like, it really depends on how you approach it, how you do it. Like, for a lesser known superhero, like you mentioned Shang-Chi earlier, I mean, that's quite easy, because nobody, it's not that kind of classic, you find out you're an alien, or you get bitten, or you have a tragic, loss in your family, or all three. And so it doesn't feel quite as tropey. But for characters we've seen a lot, like Batman, I want to just dive into an older Batman who, is learning to be a parent and is dealing with some mystical, fantastical threats. But surely with Batman being a parent, we would also unpack a little bit about his thoughts on that and his own experiences. So
right.
I feel like that they were not by not showing it. I at least hope it's not entirely absent from his character.
Right. Yeah, no, like I think like totally fine just jumping into the story. Like there's so many Batman stories and Spider-Man stories and Superman stories we've never told because we kind of kept with the classic for so many years. I also don't want them to automatically though be like afraid to touch on the origins of these heroes either if it is necessary for the story. Like again, like you said, like I think Damian I think is such a perfect example, or I guess a perfect way to revisit Batman's trauma and his, history. And I think a big part of what makes Batman for me is like his trauma at such a young age and how that enforced him and how that made him the person he is now. So I think like not touching on it at all, I think would be a slight mistake, or at least not kind of doing references or like a 1 to 2 minute thing showing like, oh, this is why he is the way he is and stuff like that. There's also the thought I have where it's like, in a couple years, when you have new kids kind of getting introduced to the character, are they not going to know the origin of Batman, right? When you have Matt Reeves' Batman, when you have James Gunn's or whoever's going to be directing that movie, when you have the new Batman Caped Crusader also not being an origin story, will people growing up only have these stories, not know about like, oh, his parents were shot, or will they not know about all these things? I think will be an interesting narrative to tell in a couple years.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, this has to be some maybe extent to like, what if there's a filmmaker or a writer that wants to retell, Batman's origins in many different ways. I mean, look at Nolan's Batman Begins, like how he told Bruce's journey, and then how Bruce became Batman, and also like with Gotham, and also with other graphic novels as well. Because when you look into graphic novels of Batman, they will retell that traumatic moment when Bruce lost his parents. So it's interesting, like the take for the origin, like what origin are they going to go through? Like, is it through maybe through Ra's al Ghul, or through a different tactic, or maybe being trained by Alfred as well. Alfred is one of my favorite characters. So I wondered like how maybe Alfred has an impact on his origin. I mean, you do get to see that in the graphic novels, but I do want to see something that has like in film, maybe, or with the Bat family as well. Like, does the Bat family have something towards Batman's origins, like how he becomes something out of the shadows and something else? I think that is interesting to look in origins, I think, as well. I mean, the Arkham games has done that as well, just popping up over and over again, like showing Batman's backstory as well. So yeah.
It's always good to have a traumatic vision or hallucination or something like that. We just do something like that.
Yeah, Scarecrow just popping up at just 5 seconds. Like, here you go, it's traumatic. There you go.
I think my favorite example of it is what, not to reference like CW stuff again, but like I think what Superman and Lois did is like the perfect way to do it, where your first 3 minutes of the show is like showing your audience, his history and where he came from and his powers and how he met Lois and blah 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 and his whole life up until this point and what it means to him. But it's not an origin story. It's, it's a story about Superman in his 40s who has kids, who's married, who's been through the ringer. It's that kind of story. And I think something like that is like, I think the perfect balance. Just be like, okay, this is who Batman is, but now we're telling this story. Now he's in his 50s and he has a kid and blah, blah, blah. So I think that's how I would go about it, or something similar. It doesn't have to be exactly that, but like, like you said, I think Scarecrow is actually a great choice to be like, that's where he comes from. Like this is something that he went through or whatever. So
that opening of Superman and Lois like almost brings a tear to my eye. I just think it's so beautiful, and especially you get that kind of comic book panel where he's kind of catching the car as well, and you kind of think to yourself, he doesn't have to just be the kind of like trauma thing. You can use that to, as John said, like build that relationship with Alfred, or even if it is something fun, like we get to see a recreation of the classic shot of Batman, like when he's flying and he's got the person like under his arm, like just there are ways to do it that don't feel so derivative. I think that most of the time, like in Batman 89 or in Batman Forever, when we do get those little glimpses, it's done for something more than just here's what happened and we'll move on.
As well, like going on with that is like it recontextualizes kind of in that world, like the version of that world, like with Batman, like what is this Batman technically? Like what is his emotion? Because there's the New 52 run of Batman and he is more hopeful. Like why does he become hopeful? Why does he become like this? So I agree with that.
That's an interesting point, because in Batman v Superman as well, you kind of see a Batman whose origin story is born out of anger. Like with Thomas Wayne specifically, and his reaction to the mugging is like, I'm going to protect my family, I'm going to attack, and that's a whole different perspective, which I always kind of read as like, this Batman is much more prone to anger and less balanced.
Sure. Yeah, no, for sure. Again, I think it's going to be very interesting to just see like the culture around Batman in a couple years when we have like 2 ongoing stories and a TV show, and obviously the comics, and clearly he's going to get more stuff because it's Batman and people love Batman. So yeah, no, again, very interesting thing. I'm very curious because like I talked about it last week and I don't need to go into it, but like they had the whole delays and stuff last week for like Part 2 and Brave and the Bold, and it's like, okay, we might not get one for a while. Actually, it might be a minute.
Still hurts. Still hurts. It's almost been a week.
So much pain.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I mean, like that timeline we almost got, where 2025 was Superman, Batman, Fantastic Four, Captain America, and Thunderbolts. Insane. I want to live in that timeline. Actually, that'd be nice.
Wasn't Spider-Man supposed to be that year as well?
Beyond the Spider-Verse, I think, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Incredible.
Spider-Verse.
That would have been so nice.
I don't even want to get started on that movie because I'm so scared. They said recently, like they don't even know what the ending of the movie is. Like they don't know what they're doing with it yet.
They don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You ended it on a cliffhanger. You don't end it on a cliffhanger if you don't know the ending. I don't know. I could go down a rabbit hole, actually.
But, I think instead of talking about most anticipated films, I think we should just cry into our microphones for like an hour.
He's like, why did this movie didn't come out? Yeah. Please. Why did it come out?
I have thought about like ranking like delayed movies or like delayed comic book movies that are either delayed or never saw the light of day or something. On like which one would we have actually seen? It's like Blade or the original Flash movie or whatever it is.
Like, wow. I would tune into that.
Too. Yeah. Blade also was supposed to be here in 2025, and we're not seeing that either. So
that's an episode you should do, though. That's a great idea.
You would cook on that. That would be fun.
I'm writing it down as we speak. But no, 2025. It's a very exciting time. Again, I'm super excited. There's a lot of great movies. We had the writer's strike those last couple of years, so again, a lot of the stuff is coming out this year, and even more next. Like 2026 is going to be. Like some of that stuff probably is not coming out, but that's even a crazier year. So we're going to do this a little differently. Normally I would do this either via tier list or via whatever it may be. So let me screen share my screen here really quickly. So we are playing a elimination game here. Let me full screen it. Here
this
in my
Canva. This is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
So I am giving you guys 5 movies for 2025. You can only see 5 movies next year. And once someone takes it off the board, the other person cannot pick that movie in this hypothetical world, of course. And we will go until everyone has picked their 5 movies. And again, if someone picks it, you have to pick another most anticipated movie that maybe wasn't on your list originally. This is the game that I've started on this channel recently, and I was like, this is like my favorite thing ever. This is so much fun.
I'm scared.
It adds a little bit of stakes to. I know, like I'm going last in between you guys two, and I'm like, I'm scared that my favorites are going to get taken right off the gate.
Could you give us an example, like on this board right here? Like,
sure. Just one sec. I'm trying to fix my screen. You guys are off my screen. I'm trying to fix it for you guys.
So have I got it right in the sense of like, if I pick Nobody 2, that's one of my 5.
Yes.
And then
yes.
no one
so
can
like
pick Nobody 2.
Right. Yeah. So if Tom is like, I really want to see SpongeBob in 2025.
Hey.
John can no longer watch SpongeBob, and obviously in this hypothetical,
Ooh.
no one else can touch this movie. And it's off the board, and you have to pick another one. That's
And we're sticking to this, right? All year.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
We're gonna abstain.
You are writing
from
a
the
contract. You can't.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sorry. Let me just. Okay, here we go. This should hopefully be okay. Okay, Tom, let's start with you. Just kind of looking at the board really quickly here.
Thank you so much.
I'm giving you full pick here. You have full pick of the board. Which one are you going for?
Superman. I mean, like, come on. Like,
God
I was
damn
so scared that I wouldn't get this one because I just, like, am so infinitely excited for this film.
Sure. I'm sorry, I'm having technical difficulties. I'm trying to find.
It's all right.
Okay, Superman. Tom, you're taking Superman. You know what? I kind of expected that the first person would probably want to pick Superman because to me it is also.
I would have picked that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, but it's mine now.
You stole it from me. How could you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think to me at least, and again, a lot of people will argue some other movies on this list, but I do think it is the blockbuster of the year.
Oh,
I think it is
yeah.
It is the event of the season. I think it's almost like the event of the decade in some ways because it is like it's launching something new, right? Like this is the new Iron Man. This is the movie we will be looking back to. Hopefully, if it does well, 10 years later, and be like, this is what launched everything. This is what started this entire thing. So, I don't blame you whatsoever.
Yeah, I saw someone on Twitter kind of say that if this film does very well, and I think Fantastic Four as well, this could be ushering in almost like a silver age of comic book movies, and I think that's such a lovely thought because they have evolved and they have changed and they are trying different things, and the idea that Superman could be so important, I love that.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think you're right. I think like. And I don't know, just like I started this show a couple months before, like I started in November of 2022, and then James Gunn announced his slate in January of 2023.
Oh, wow,
so I started the show a couple months before, and I've kind of like traveled the entire journey, every announcement, every I talked about the casting, I talked about all the some of the leaks and a lot of those kind of things. And so when that trailer came out a couple weeks ago, man, what a special moment that was. To me, that felt like an event. Just the trailer, not even the movie, not even the trailer was an event that I think I will remember forever. Like all my friends were reacting to it. Everyone was talking about it. I came home from work that night and I did like a 3-hour stream on somebody else's channel talking about it. It was like, it felt like a moment like, oh, we're seeing a glimpse into what the future can be, and I think that's really cool.
Oh yeah. Like when I watched that trailer, I was just mind blown. Like, oh my god, we're getting something that it looks insane. I'm so anticipated for this movie. It just looks beautiful. Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, I basically ran home from work to watch it with I watched it like as soon as I got out of work, and then like. I just wanted to watch it with my dad. I was just like, I have to, because I knew he wouldn't have watched it. I knew he wasn't like counting down the seconds to the time that it was, unlike me. And I just knew like I've got to experience this with him, and there's something special about that. And I know that a lot of people are going to have that experience with their loved ones because Superman is special, and for a lot of people, it's their first comic book movie. When they're a little kid, you watch Superman the movie. It's not one that you think, oh, are they old enough? You just kind of. You watch it, and that's for a lot of people what makes them fall in love. So for this trailer to really bring back a lot of those emotions, it's perfect.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and I also think James Gunn is such or at least his marketing team has been going overtime. Like they did the like motion poster they put out, which is the most
that poster.
on Twitter, it is the most liked poster, like movie poster of all time, which is saying
Really?
something. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And then they did the teaser for the teaser trailer, which also was trending on YouTube like that whole day, which is crazy. And then they did the actual trailer, which is in the 5 most watched trailers of all time. Which is crazy. And again, it makes me excited. It makes me excited that people seem to be excited. Like, you don't always get that with these comic book movies now. Hello, Noah. How's it going? Alrighty, John, what is your next choice? You have the full board, except for Superman.
All right. I have to go with Superman. Like I was about to I sit on that, but unfortunately, Tom, you stole it from me. But anyway, I think I have to go to Mickey 17.
Ooh. Okay.
I am very excited for this one, as this is directed by Joon-ho. I loved Parasite. I thought Parasite was just an incredible movie to watch. I thought every frame, every moment of it just had me on the edge of my seat. Like I just felt so. It was a very suspenseful film until the like at the second half of the movie, but the second half movie just recontextualizes everything for the rest of the movie, like how you think about the characters, like the characters' wants and needs. But yeah, and with Junho, I think he speaks a lot on today's world, especially you look into Parasite about like how he looks into different class cultures as well. This is a battle between with the lower class and the higher class in the movie. But I think Mickey 17 is going to be a lot about like with labor and the world of that. It's going to be inspired a lot by Sam Rockwell's Moon movie.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, right. And I love that movie too. So I think again, it's like the social political aspects of that, which Mickey 17 is going to be like just crazy to watch. I mean, if you look at the trailer, Rob Harrison, multiple clones of himself, as Expendables. So I think this movie, I think it's just going to be fantastic to watch. Yeah.
No, I think this. I actually haven't seen the trailer for this one yet because I think there has been a lot of hype around this, and I think again, like Robert Pattinson is like one of the biggest pulls for me, just in terms of like an actor now. I think he's kind of proven like, no, he's kind of got the chops to be like this kind of A-lister, top of his game movie maker, which is very exciting. And I think a lot of my kind of association with this movie so far has been like, well, it keeps getting pushed back. Like it was pushed back twice, and then more recently it was pushed like up a month or something crazy. So it's like, I'm just excited to see what it is, because I'll be honest, I haven't watched a trailer. I don't even know the plot of the movie right now. And I think there's a little bit of an excitement to that, and I think there's like almost a respect thing to it, where like I don't know anything about it, and I'm excited. Like I'm excited just on the basis of I think this will be a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna get that much better experience than me, because it's better to go into a movie blind and then you know completely nothing of it. I think that's just exciting to do. And then Rob Pattinson as well, he's an amazing voice actor as well. Like if you've seen him in The Boy and the Heron, Studio Ghibli, like he has a completely different voice. So he's top of this game. I loved him in the Lighthouse as well. Insane movie. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, there's something special about you're excited for a film based off purely the director or an actor, or nothing to do with the plot. You just kind of go, oh yeah, like them. All right, I'm in. Like,
I'm in.
I think, and they always end up being, some of the best.
Yeah, no, for sure. Oh boy, okay. So Superman's gone. Superman's off the board. My second one, and I think this is a franchise thing for me. This is a new installment in this is a new movie to like a movie franchise we haven't technically gone back to for a very long time. and that is Karate Kid Legends.
Yes.
I love Cobra. I love Karate Kid. Karate Kid is easily one of the most like influential movie franchises of all time. I love all those movies. Like, you know, I'm a 2000s kid, but I still grew up on those original movies, and then I liked the reboot. And then Cobra Kai, like, Tom, I think me and you had talked about Cobra Kai a little bit
Yes,
off
we
screen,
have.
but like that show turned like, yeah, I really love these movies, to like, oh no, these are one of my favorite things of all time. I love these characters. I love all these things. And there was a lot of fear with this movie I had for a very long time. Because again, as a massive fan of Cobra Kai, I was like, okay, new Karate Kid movie. Are you going to make Cobra Kai non-canon now? Are you going to ignore the events of that show? And seemingly no. Like, seemingly they brought in the Cobra Kai writer, said, hey, look at our script, make sure everything looks okay. They have confirmed it does take place 3 years after Cobra Kai, so that like the Cobra Kai lore, like the Cobra Kai lore has been taken in effect to the script and to the story, which to me just like boosts my excitement by like 50%.
So cool.
Yeah, like
and he's in the house. In the
Yeah,
trailer,
no.
he was in the house, and I was
Yeah.
like, "What?"
Yeah, it's crazy. And like how many times with these film franchises do they just like ignore what TV shows are doing? Like how much, you know,
Ugh.
like look at like the MCU did that with like, you know, the like Netflix shows and, you know, stuff like that. And like you're kind of trained to be like, well, they're obviously not going to care about the TV show, and it seems like they do. And I think Cobra Kai is the reason this movie even exists, because I think it like it revived the franchise at a core. It brought this entire new generation to a franchise that was at the time relatively dead, without a, you know, new installment for a very long time. And again, like I think Ralph Macchio is great. I think Jackie Chan is great. So again, seeing those two separate franchises clash is like, oh, okay, this is interesting. This is fun. I could see it going either way. I could see it being awful. I could also see it being like a really, really well-made movie. That trailer set a tone that I don't think I've ever felt in the like Karate Kid universe. Like Karate Kid, always a really silly franchise, which is, I love that from them. Like it's what I love those movies. I love Cobra Kai, of course, but it is very cool to be like, oh, okay, this feels a little darker. This feels a little bit more serious. There feels like there's a little bit of higher stakes. And especially after this newest season, I won't spoil it, but this newest season has such high stakes. Like it's so high in terms of what they're doing. It's so big that it does, while it feels like there's high stakes, it feels like we're shrinking it down and making it a little bit more intimate to the characters. And that's exciting to me. So that's going to be my number one pick here.
Yeah, seeing the cinematography in that trailer, I was just like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. And I am, similar to you, just such a big fan. And I have to say, I grew up with the 2010 film and didn't watch the original until 2020. And I was in the cinema because they re-released it after COVID. And I watched it with my dad. And afterwards I was like, why didn't you show me this as a kid? And he was like, yeah, I'm sorry. That's like that's a parenting oversight. I'm really sorry. And we still talk about it this day as like his big failure as a father was to not show me the original Karate Kid. And just like those you know, I haven't even seen any of the sequels, but those two films and Cobra Kai, I haven't seen any of the latest season, but the first 5 have just hit such heights, and I don't even know how, you know, they can end that series satisfactorily, but the fact that they are making this film is just really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it just looks exciting. I love the original one. Just gives me so much, you know, motivation. You know, like kind of like, this is so cool.
Yeah,
this is like crazy fun. Yeah.
I like. My mom wasn't like super into movies growing up or anything, but like she showed me Back to the Future, Rocky, and Karate Kid. So I think those 3 movies were
That's all you need.
Those 3 were such staples when I was a
Yeah.
kid. They were such big things. Again, I think Cobra Kai like brought it out in such a cool way where we're like, those movies now kind of feel like prequels to Cobra Kai in a weird way, when it's like you spend 50 episodes with those guys over on Cobra Kai. It's like, oh my gosh, you develop them in such a massive way. Way more content than we ever got, like previously. Like one season of Cobra Kai is more than like, Daniel's entire runtime in the movies, which is crazy. So yeah, no, that's definitely my pick. All right, Tom, we're back to you on your round 2 picks here. Obviously, you already took away Superman. What is your next one you're going to take away from us?
I mean, I love the way that you've framed it here. What am I going to take away from you? I mean, it's been so clear to me as soon as I saw the board, my top 2. So I'm going to struggle after this one. But Mission Impossible:
Okay.
The Final Reckoning.
I was about to choose that.
Yeah, sorry, John. I knew you were. But that's why I did it. No, I'm kidding. I'm so excited for this. Rogue Nation, Fallout, Dead Reckoning, they've all set a bar. Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise, their collaboration has just made the Mission Impossible franchise just become something else than what it was before. And I loved it before. I love 1 to 4, but we've made it more, kind of more interconnected, more serialized. And beyond that, the set pieces, the filmmaking behind it is so very, very exciting.
Yeah.
Obviously there's the big stunt, the biplanes. I'm so excited to see that, but also I'm excited that this might be some sort of conclusion. I know that reports say Tom Cruise wants to keep on going, but I'm always the guy who's like, no, finish it.
Yeah.
I think that this is the place where I want to see a brilliant, and it's called The Final Reckoning. Like, come on, like I feel like this would be a lovely conclusion to the saga. I haven't watched any of the or rewatched any of the Mission Impossible films in years, and I always love being like, oh, the new one's coming out, so I watch all 7 of them, and I'm going to do that, and I can't wait. Show it to my partner; she's never seen any of them, and so that's going to be really exciting. And I just love that air of finality, even though I might be putting that on it, even though it might not be the last one, but it feels final, and it feels like the stakes are going to be higher than ever, and we're seeing characters return. Like it's just everything that you want, and I kind of just feel like it's going to be good. Like what you were saying earlier about Avengers, and you don't know whether it's going to be a bit baity. This doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like it will be baity at all. Right. It feels like it's going to be some proper good filmmaking.
Amazing. Yeah, it's one of my big one of my failures as a film fan is I've never seen a Mission Impossible movie.
No way!
So it's my goal this year. It comes out in May, right? It's like May-ish.
Yes, I think so.
My goal is to watch one like maybe every other week, kind of like in preparation for this one. Because like I've always had an interest. Like every time I see a trailer for this movie, it's like, oh, this looks like one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. Like it always looks so much fun, and I love how dedicated Tom Cruise is. Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise. There's things I don't love about the guy, but like he always looks like he's so passionate about these movies, and he always wants to. He's such a he's such like a defender of like pure filmmaking. The feeling I had of watching Top Gun Maverick in theaters was like something that I will never forget. Like that was such a ounce of pure cinema in my opinion. So I'm again, like I agree, he's someone who's not part of the franchise. I kind of agree with you. It was like, yeah, it'd be nice if he like defined this franchise as one of the best franchises by just kind of ending it where it is, and hopefully a solid outing, a solid ending for that franchise, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's all. Even when it comes to TV as well, that's something that end it and know that you're going to end it. Like you were saying about Beyond the Spider-Verse as well. Know what your ending is, and then do it. Quit while you're ahead, always.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Mission Impossible has been one of my favorite series to experience on the big screen. Fallout and Mission Impossible Fallout, that is my favorite out of the film series, because it's like it just sets the tone in a more like darker way, but it has like this gritty like sense of like action in the movie. But the series just has so much intensity, fun, but it just keeps you on your toes. It's like, oh my god, there's so many things that are happening. But Tom Cruise, he is like a very dedicated filmmaker, so it's just like I'm very happy to see him making films and just giving life to cinema,
Yeah.
on the big screen. And I love his phrase when when he's trying to promote his movie and he's like, "I'll see you at the movies," because it's like it just feels magical in some way. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, cool. I'll see you. I'll see you at the movies then. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, John, you're up for
Okay.
your round 2, which is going to be your second pick here.
Okie dokie. Let's see. I would go with Avatar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know why. I just feel like the Avatar movies are pretty cool. To watch. I mean, I loved Way of the Water. That was a great experience to watch at the cinema. I just felt like that was a great event to watch on 3D because I felt like James Cameron intended that to watch on 3D because you felt like you were so immersed into the movie. I thought that was a great film. So I'm just intrigued to see like what he has to add more for the third film, in terms of like world building, because he's very like he wants to keep going with this franchise. Like he has so much to tell.
Yeah.
And I respect that because there are like world building series that I've read that just wants to expand the world beyond and beyond. Like I've been reading One Piece, Dark Tower, or like fantasy like sci-fi stuff.
Sure.
Like they have to have something that feels alive in the world that just keeps on expanding. So I'm very excited to see this one. What was it called again? Avatar and
Fire and Ash, I think.
Fire and Ash, yes. I think it's
Yeah.
going to focus on the fire community. I think the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, what we have
The
the
Fire
water.
Nation before they
Fire
attack.
The Fire Nation.
They're never gonna
Oh my
beat
God.
the allegations.
Yeah, they're just gonna like you can see Aang somewhere like in the background, like yeah.
Yeah, aren't we getting an animated Last Airbender movie in early 2026 as well?
It's really
Oh,
funny because this
yeah.
comes out in December and the Aang Avatar movie comes out in January. So we're gonna have
Really?
2 Avatar movies in theaters at the same time.
That's crazy.
That's a double bill.
You have to do it a double feature. I feel like you have to like see both avatars at the same time, even if you've already seen this Avatar. You have to see them. You have to see it again just to see them both at once.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna see Avatar twice. Like, wait, twice? What do you mean? He's like, oh no, I'm seeing Aang and then Avatar, the other one. But yeah,
I just
so
thought
looking
the
forward.
poor people at the like cinema when people come up and like, yeah, 1 ticket for Avatar, please. Which one? Which Avatar?
Yeah, which one? But yeah, I'm so looking forward to that.
Yeah.
One.
Yeah, I mean, I Avatar is a weird one for me because I feel like I never I don't love Avatar. Like I don't love these movies, but I'm always so excited for like the theater experience of these movies.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I think they're very solid movies, but it's like they're movies that like demand your attention. Like even if you're not that into it, you're like, yeah, but it's Avatar. Like you have to go just for like the like visual experience itself.
Yeah. I understand like it's something to be with people in the cinema and just see something visually pleasing. Like it looks pretty cool, Yeah.
Yeah. And just like I agree. I think the fire elements could be really fun on like the big screen. This Fire Nation, if you will. Seeing like how that's like again, like what is that? And just all the like back at like what D23 we had that like those like graphics that they showed off of like all the people in that nation and the backgrounds. Like, yeah, this looks sick. Like this looks really cool, and like yeah, it will probably be there day one actually.
And you know that he's building to something. Like James Cameron, like I was saying about Mission Impossible, I think he does have a plan. Maybe not for an ending, but like for some kind of culmination event, and that's always exciting.
It's interesting because he has plans up to 6, right? He has up to 6 planned, but then he said, "Yeah, I'd be open to doing 7, 8, and 9." I was like, "Man, that's a lot. I don't know if I want to see 9 avatars. I love it, but like that's a lot of avatars."
Yeah, especially that each movie can be extended to 3 hours. I mean, I'm there for it. but it can maybe get a little bit frustrating. Like, oh, I'm gonna get through this series, but it's gonna be each are gonna be 3 hours long. I mean, grab your popcorn. You know, we're gonna be watching them all.
And
7
like,
movies.
and like 3 hours is the least it's going to be. Like back when Way of Water came out, he said he had that 10-hour cut that or something that he planned to make into like a TV show. And I was like, I don't need to see 10 hours of Avatar. Actually, I'm good on that. Actually,
You're gonna be stuck in the cinema just watching
oh
it.
my gosh.
He's just made the entire Last Airbender TV show, and that's the secret that we didn't know the whole time. It was like, oh my god!
And Aang just pops out the star ship and just like, hey, I'm here, guys, and just
You know what? That would be so cool. Like Aang like gliding with like Appa as well, mate. That would be awesome.
That would be
I'd
great.
watch it. I'd
Appa,
watch it.
yeah. I want to see Appa actually in live
I'm
action.
so excited for Avatar Studios. I need that more than life, actually.
Yeah.
All right, my second pick. I wasn't sure if it would still be here or not. I'm going with Fantastic Four, my second most anticipated superhero movie of next year. You know what? About a year and a half ago, I was kind of done with Fantastic Four. There were so many casting rumors and speculations that we could not get this movie off the ground. We couldn't do it. And once they did, once they were like clearly in production, like once they were trying to get this movie out, everything I've heard about this movie just sounds amazing. The writers and the cast and all the like behind the scenes photos and the aesthetic, and like when they came up to, I think it was San Diego Comic-Con, and they brought their big car and it floating off the ground, and you saw all these kind of backgroundy things, and I just kind of screams to me like kind of what I've been craving with the MCU for a long time now, and that is just like passion. This movie to me screams passion project. It seems like you've got people that genuinely really care about making a good movie, that really care about what they're doing here, and I think that's so important. I think I at this point I'll be shocked if it's not good, because I've just loved everything I've heard. Obviously, this is going to be building up like Avengers and stuff like that, which is not the top of my list here, but like it's still definitely very exciting to hopefully finally get a great Fantastic Four movie. Again, I love Pedro. I love this cast. I think this cast is really solid as well, and there's just a lot of curiosity around this movie too, because we also just don't really know much about it. Like as much as we know now, like the plot of the movie is still kind of a secret, and like Silver Surfer is going to be in this, and there's a lot of fun things here that I am very excited for.
The suits as well. Like I saw those suits and I was just like, hold on, this is really interesting. Like the kind of 60s color palette as well. It's like, okay, we're doing something a little bit more stylish here, and getting Matt Shackman from WandaVision as well, a show that was also very stylish. It's like, okay, I'm really enjoying that they're doing something different.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, and like this and Superman being like in the same like weeks apart from each other just seems like it's going to be such a good time to be superhero fans, and like both seeming like these love letters to like the like silver age of comics almost, and like that era of comic book stuff is also very exciting to me.
Yeah, it just has this like style that just looks so exciting, and just seems like, again, it looks very secretive. Like we don't know anything about it apart from Galacticus. He's gonna be in this movie. So again, I don't know
Ralph Ineson as well.
Yeah, I don't know what everything's gonna be pulled into this film, and then how it is gonna be directly linked to Doomsday. Just going into that, I wondered how it's going to build into the history of the MCU in a way. Like, is it going to recontextualize some things, or is it just going to do something to extend something in the MCU? Again, it does look exciting. I'm there for it. So, the cast. Yeah, I agree. The cast is stacked. Yeah.
I wonder if it'll be delayed, because you've got Jurassic World, you've got Superman, Fantastic Four. I think there is a little bit of a danger. Obviously, there's also the Blade spot that is empty now. And there might be a little bit of a danger that one of those three is going to call chicken. And I kind of feel like it's going to be Fantastic Four.
I've talked about this a lot, and like I have I have a worry about that month because I unfortunately like I think Jurassic World's fine. Like they have no reason to worry. People love dinosaurs; they're fine. And I think it's like between Fantastic Four and Superman, I'm worried that one of them might not do as well as the other. Along with Smurfs, that also comes out like the week following. It's like Superman. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. Like I think Fantastic Four success, unfortunately, and this is not like, very like cinema loving or whatever, but if Downey is in Fantastic Four and if they market that he's in that movie, I almost think it's kind of done for Superman, unfortunately. Just because Superman had like Downey unfortunately has that power to just like people will be there, unfortunately. But I want to live in a world where they both do well. When Marvel and DC can both put out a movie at the same time and them both be massively successful. Like I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I just hope that like because if Fantasy Four doesn't do well, shame for the MCU.
Yeah,
If Superman doesn't do well,
it's done.
that
Yeah.
could be DCU done for.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
All right, Tom. What is your third pick here?
This has now become difficult, and I've just been staring, and I'm just like, I don't know. It's interesting because I've seen Paddington on there, but I've already seen Paddington because it's come out, and so I feel wrong because I know the outcome. I know what my thoughts are on it, and I think it might have maybe made it into my most anticipated if it hadn't already come out.
Gotcha.
So I think, and now this is surprising even myself. I think I'm gonna go Thunderbolts Asterix.
Ooh, interesting.
And this is purely because the trailer was just so alive with the chemistry from the cast and interesting kind of story beats, and also the cinematography was really cool. Like, a lot of the action looked pretty interesting. It seems so much more interesting than the original pitch, and that is always just amazing to me. So many times I'll see an announcement, I'll be like, who cares? The classic one, Andor, who cares? And then Andor's the greatest thing ever. But we're even experiencing it right now in Star Wars of Skeleton Crew. I wasn't very excited about that show, and I think it's amazing at the moment.
I need to watch
I think it's amazing so far. 6 episodes out of 8. And I just love that kind of thing where you're just completely, like, I think same thing happened with Eternals for me personally. I know a lot of people don't love Eternals, but I did, and I wasn't expecting anything from it. And I think Thunderbolts is that same thing where it's like, I don't really care about any of these characters, not really, not nearly as much as some other. I think, Bucky and Yelena above the rest, but these aren't necessarily my favorite characters, and this isn't a story that I felt needed to be told. But I saw the trailer and I was like, hold on, there's something here, and that is worth something to me.
Yeah, I think Thunderbolts is either going to be one of the best things the MCU has ever done, or just a pile of trash. Like I don't know if there's an in between, because I think it's really going to come down to the cast, like the cast's dynamic, where like if they don't have chemistry with each other, I think we're kind of done, right? Like there's no way of fixing it past that. And they seem to have great chemistry. They seem to have a great banter back and forth. There's also so much we don't know. Like that trailer didn't give us much, actually. Like it's there's really not much there. Which is good. Like I don't want to. Like it's good that we don't know a lot about the movie. It seems like a lot of that is like from the first act of the film. So I'm very excited to see kind of like what are they hiding? What is the asterisk? How do people respond to an MCU movie that is mostly built up of? It really is a sequel to like 5 different movies, right? It's like a Black Widow sequel and a Falcon and Winter Soldier sequel and an Ant-Man sequel, and all those kind of things. So it's like, oh, okay, let's see how people kind of respond to that.
Yeah, it feels the closest to an actual like crossover that MCU has had since Endgame to me.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, with Thunderbolts, it does look pretty exciting. So I'll see where it goes. I'll see where it goes with that. Yeah.
Amazing. All right, John, what's your number 3?
Ooh. Okay, so this is difficult because I've seen Paddington, the same as Tom. It was a good movie. Okay, I think I have to go with the John Wick universe, Ballerina. I think
Ballerina.
is that
Okay.
what it's called? If I'm
Yes,
correct.
it's Ballerina. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like Ballerina, a John Wick story or something like that.
Yes. So I do like the John Wick movies. I'm not a huge fan, but I do love John Wick 4. I think John Wick 4 absolutely elevates everything from the past 3 movies. I do like the movies, but I think, you know, with 4, I think it's a lot of fun. And it does have like an emotional moment at the end of the movie, and it's taken a lot of inspirations from some of the stuff that I know from media, from the director that he has taken a lot of like inspirations from anime that I love, called Cowboy Bebop, and Cowboy Bebop does have like kind of like that kind of like action packed craziness to this. So with John Wick 4, it does look like it incorporates some of that style into it. So with Ballerina, I think it looks pretty cool from the trailer. I haven't seen the trailer like recently. I've seen it on the big screen, but it's not really in my head. Like, oh my god, it's still ingrained in my head.
Sure.
Ballerina. Yeah, I'm looking to see what this movie is going to go through. Like, is it going to expand some stuff for John, or is it gonna do something else for the movie? I don't know. I want to see what it has to offer. Really. Yeah.
Yeah. I so I've seen the first 2 John Wick movies, and I love those movies a lot. And I was going to watch them last year because I was like, okay, this like Ballerina movie's coming up. I'll watch it and prep for, this year. And then it got delayed till next year. I was like, okay, I guess I'm waiting a little bit to finish my my John Wick watch through. But those first 2 movies are so good. They're so much fun. And I thought that trailer was excellent. I thought that was such a phenomenal trailer that I feel like even if it wasn't connected to John Wick, I'd be interested. I feel like they just put together a really dynamic trailer. I was like, oh, I want to see this. I'm not even caught up, and I this is I feel like I could have put that movie on my list even though I'm not caught up with with those movies. So no, that's also very exciting.
Yeah, with Ana de Armas, we do get to see her.
Yes.
We did see her in James Bond's No Time to Die. I thought she was excellent in that kind of small role she had, and it kind of showed that potential of what she can do, in an action movie, and she kicks ass in that one. She is so cool in Ballerina. So I'm excited to see, what she has for the skill to be this assassin, in this. So yeah, I'm looking forward.
Yeah,
and isn't it set in between 3 and 4 as well, which I think is really exciting. I love it when franchises go back and aren't just we're moving forward in time.
Sure.
I always wish the MCU had gone back and done some stuff kind of maybe in between Civil War and Infinity War. They still could, but I love it when those kinds of things, they could, not necessarily fulfilling gaps, but just because you have an interesting time frame. So let's do something with that.
Black Widow kind of did that, but I feel like
they
did it, I feel like not the right way, because they did it after she died, and I feel like after that point it's well, I don't know if I want to watch a dead character kind of thing. But I had always said they should have done that with Black Widow, but before Avengers, before the first Avengers, and have that Black Widow Hawkeye kind of movie and their mission or them bonding and stuff like that. I think that would have been fascinating. Or In Between the Snap had a lot of potential there. There's so much story in between there that we just don't know about. But no, that's an absolutely great pick. Okay, my number 3. And there's a lot of good stuff still on the board. My Disney fan at heart, I think, and listen, I know they've had a bad track record with Disney sequels these last couple years. I didn't love Moana 2 or Frozen 2 or Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Oh no.
I am I really am looking forward to Zootopia too. I think Zootopia is one of the best things Disney's ever put out. And I think if they have any franchise that's more suitable for like doing sequels, I do think it's Zootopia. Like I think the template for that franchise is just, you know, unlimited. I think this could be like Disney's Knives Out, if you will, of just like every couple years they come out with a new mystery, a new, you know, thing they have to go solve. I think this world is so big and there's so many possibilities, and like I think there's a lot of like fun lore that you can have with this universe and stuff like that and these characters. This one's tough because we still don't know like the plot of it or really anything about it outside of like the slight photos we've seen and that it's happening, right? But no, like I think that's exciting to me. And again, if done, again, I'm awaiting a good Disney sequel because again, like I was so disappointed with Moana 2. Like I thought it was fine, but it's like, man, you could have been so much more. You know, you could have been something really special. And like, you know, we're heading into this. You know, I love Disney, but I think, you know, we're heading into a very interesting time for them where it's like Moana 2 and then Zootopia 2 and then Frozen 3 and 4 and then Toy Story 5, and it's like, oh, okay, you know, cool, but I also want some original stuff thrown in there as well. So we'll see. I hope it's good.
Yeah, as long as it's not like a TV show that's been retooled, I feel like they already are building up work. Because I think they did do a TV show, or were they gonna? I don't know, but I feel like I remember they were gonna do that.
Yeah, they did Zootopia Plus, which is basically like a bunch of these like little shorts, which was still good. Like it was still very solid, and I actually think they kind of want this right approach with that because it was focusing on different characters within that first movie and kind of like their day or like things that they were up to, and I thought that was a really fun way to just kind of explore that world a little bit that we hadn't seen prior. And then this can be like, okay, actually like expanding the main story of these two characters and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, with sequels nowadays, it is hard when it's like, oh, this looks amazing, but then it could be trash. And it you know, with Dystopia, I haven't seen the first one, so I can't make any judgment about like, oh, it is gonna be it's gonna be trash or something. But I think, yeah, with what I see from Zootopia, it does look like a very much like an open world, you know, type of story that we get to see different characters. So yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued about that one and see where it takes us. That one.
Absolutely. All right, Tom, we are back to you. And as a reminder, each of you have 2 more movies each, with still quite a full board here. So I feel like we're starting to get down to the wire a little bit. Tom,
you reminded me when you likened Zootopia to Knives Out, and I was like, isn't Wake Up Dead Man coming out this year?
you know what?
And I scoured the board and it's not there. That's a shame.
I don't have it there. I don't. I'm so sorry. It's
that's okay. But I wanna give it an honorable mention. I'm gonna
honorable
pick.
mention.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Wicked for Good.
Ooh,
that's a good choice.
Now I didn't love Wicked Part 1, and you know our comments on TikTok were not happy about that.
Oh, they were.
I saw that. I was like, oh, they're kind of getting cooked here. That's sad.
Yeah. The amount of people who are like, you should watch the stage play, and it's like, well, I have now. It just came to it just came to where we are in the UK in Manchester, and I gave it a watch, and I have to say that Act 2 was not very good in my opinion, and so I'm very interested to see how the film obviously will make it longer, will hopefully improve upon parts, but also part 1, when it needed to hit, it really hit, especially with the performances and the music. And so I'm just ready to be swept away by some of those Act 2 songs, and hopefully they will kind of fix some of those issues I did have. But I think it'd be fun, do part 1 again, and watch part 1, watch part 2, kind of have that full experience. But yeah, like I'm hoping that it now that I have seen the play, that it will improve upon some of those elements.
Yeah. With Wicked, I agree with part one. I think some of the stuff that maybe it was almost like 3 hours long with the movie. I did like the overall style of the movie. I thought the color grading could have been a little bit better because the colors would have popped out. If you've seen like Wizard of Oz, you can see all the colors that really like shine when Dorothy goes through the door, and then all the colors come to life. But with Wicked Part 2, I'm intrigued to like what they got to take from the stage production and from the story, and then see with Alphabet like what her story continues and what she changes in part 2, and with Glinda as well. So yeah, I love musicals. Musicals are just great. I just love them. Yeah. I was watching La La Land last night, and oh my god, I love La La Land. I love it so much.
What a movie!
What a movie! Oh man, musicals need to get like a lot more love in some respect, because people. I've seen some people like they go to the cinema and they were just singing along with the lyrics with Wicked. I mean, yeah, you can have fun with that, but then I feel like they're just not really taking it in. I just feel like they're just going there to like, okay, cool, we're just gonna sing along and that's it. No, I feel like with Wicked, I think it's a pretty cool film. I wish there was something to like go deeper with it, I think, as well.
Yeah,
it is a good musical, stage production wise as well.
Yeah, it's a good point about La La Land though, because I think my most anticipated film next year is my annual rewatch of La La Land, which is kind of the same every year, but like it's worth it.
Yeah, no, I honestly loved Wicked. I had Wicked to me was the first time in a while where I got so into a movie that I really wasn't thinking about my criticism of it. So I'm actually curious to rewatch it. But like I was like so into it, and the credits are rolling. I was like, oh man, it's over. I felt like I just got here. But I was listening to some of your TikToks and I was like, I think you're bringing up a lot of great points, and I almost started commenting on a couple of the comments under it. It was like, oh, but just wait until part 2. You can't say this about part 1 if you haven't seen part 2. It was like, yeah, but they gave us part 1, and we have to give you you have to give your opinion on the part that they gave us, and criticize that or talk about it as a individual movie. So I think that's valid, and I think I don't know the Wicked story. This was kind of my first introduction to Wicked. But from everything I understand, it seems like part 2 dives a lot more into the Wizard of Oz stuff. And I think, again, like you said, I think diving into the consequences of how the last movie ended and really wrapping up the story, I think is going to be, it should hopefully be the better act out of the 2 acts. So I think
I've seen it. I've seen the stage production with the Act 2. I think Act 2 comes a lot stronger in terms of with the emotional stakes of the movie. The movie, we haven't seen it yet, of the musical. It is a lot stronger. Yeah, I gotta say. So I'm excited to see that one and see what it does differently to part 1. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that they renamed it as well. They've named it Wicked for Good, which is the name of one of the songs in that part, and so I think they're definitely banking on this being this is the emotional climax.
Right. For sure. All right, John, what would your number 4 pick be? Our board is getting a little slimmer here. A lot of some of the bigger name movies are kind of getting out of the way a little bit.
Interesting. Okay, so I got my eye on one.
Okay.
And it's something that I just want to see out of curiosity. Something that I've seen that is just memed across the internet. Something that a lot of people just don't potentially don't want to see. Yeah, it's the Minecraft movie. I just want that.
No,
because
I
I
am shocked.
because well, I could have chosen 28 years later, but I think with this one, like, okay, hear me out. Hear me out with this one. So I know it doesn't look great. It doesn't look like something out of like, it's not like an amazing movie. It's Minecraft. I love Minecraft, but I'm anticipated to see it because of how like crazy like this whole film it just looks so odd, and I just feel like Jack Black as Steve. it just makes me laugh. So it's just for fun. I have to say, but that one just there because yeah. I have other things that I do want to see, but that one has my morbid curiosity of like, what is this? What is this movie? Was this made somewhere, in a lab, and it just like made this like, hey, we got this movie. It's called the Minecraft movie. No, it's called a Minecraft movie. So,
which is a whole other thing. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean there are
yeah.
numerous? Like, is this one of many? Is this a threat?
Yeah, they just put it out.
What's coming?
Yeah, and the trailers as well. It just makes me laugh. It just makes me laugh
Yeah.
every time with the trailers because, like, when Jack Black goes through the portal, with the Minecraft music as well, and it's just like, what is this? This just feels like something out of a fever dream. So
Yeah.
that one, like, I know it's not going to be like a masterpiece or anything. I'm just seeing there, like, cool. I just want to see what everybody's been talking about, so I can talk about it. It's like, well, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it's like Morbius over again. It's like something like
Yeah.
we want to like talk about like, okay, people are seeing this, but I want to kind of like get on the trend and see like how we can form our opinion and see, can it be good or does it look? Is it actually like bad? So, yeah.
I think what we've discovered today is that John yearns for the mines.
No, I mean, I get it. I like. I mean, I'm not excited for sure, but like, I am curious. I am like, all right, let's see what this thing is, And I will say, like, it is one of those movies that feels like it's made by like a CEO or like someone that's like, oh, those kids like Minecraft, huh? All right, just cast Jack Black and let's Jason Momoa and I don't know, just make the little bee creatures and I don't know. It's I'm fascinated. I kind of agree with you. Like I am fascinated, and I probably will be there opening weekend just to see what all the buzz is about. Pun intended. Yeah, no, it's gonna be. I think this time next year, I'm gonna be curious to see like, is it going to be one of those things where it's like, oh, easily one of the worst movies of the year, or is it going to be like a pleasantly surprised thing where like, oh, actually the marketing, lied to us. It's actually a solid movie with heart and all these things. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like that. I think it's much better than something like Snow White or Lilo and Stitch, which is just like, oh no. Like I think we plan to cover. I think just maybe Snow White, and it's just like I'm so much more excited to have a goofy, time with the terrible
Sure.
Minecraft movie than I am watching Snow White, which I think will probably just be like just heartbreaking just to see something that's kind of so alive in its original form kind of be forced through the Disney remake a filter.
Snow White's weird for me because like I'm excited for Rachel because I think Rachel's
absolutely.
I am so excited for like her songs and like the original music they're going to be doing in it because I think she's like a Disney princess, like her voice, like that's exciting to me. I've been a fan for hers for forever, and I'm very curious because apparently it is a different story. Like it is they're telling a different story with it. They're changing an entire subplot of the movie to make her a more heroic character, which like that aspect of it to me is like, oh yeah, that is kind of what I want more of from these live action reboots. Like I want them to do all these, but then you see like the dwarfs and it's like, oh, I don't know. That looks very whatever. And like, I've been through, I've defended these live action reboots again and again, and it's like it can get hard to defend some of them sometimes, unfortunately. We'll see. We'll see. That's not on my list. That's not one of them, but I would love a world where it's like, actually, this is one of the good ones or whatever. Like, this is kind of, because like, again, like, I actually don't mind if you want to reboot. Like, I think Snow White's actually one of them where it's like, that's one of them you probably should reboot, because it is like, what, almost 100 years old. Like, casual audiences don't really know Snow White anymore. So I'm okay with them rebooting it if it's good, if it's genuine, if they're trying to tell a good story there.
I mean, it is Mark Webb, like, which genuinely...
Wait, Mark Webb? Wait,
yeah,
genuinely
it's Mark Webb. Yeah.
No
so,
way.
Like, and I think it's his first film since Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is 11 years. So, I mean, that is definitely something that piques my interest.
Interesting.
That is interesting. Okay, my number 4, and we're going back and forth between a couple. Like, there could be a couple that fits into that spot. But you know what? Last minute, I'm going Jurassic World Rebirth, which I was not expecting going into the year. But you know what? And maybe this is just me being very positive or wanting it to be good. I have not loved a Jurassic Park movie since the first one. Like, there's not been a single one that has come after that one that I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah. Like, I think the first Jurassic World is fine. I think it's good. I kind of think all the rest have kind of sucked, unfortunately. But I love the prospect of this hopefully a rebirth for the franchise. I think Jurassic World is one of the biggest franchises that I think just kind of keeps not doing a lot of interesting things with the franchise. And from what they said,
remember that they had locusts.
And like clone children and
that was cool.
I remember the locust.
Dinosaur had feathers.
Yeah, that was the best part of the movie. Yeah, the locust. Yeah, did they have names?
Everyone stood together and were like, "We are here. We were in the original movies, and you guys are in the new movies, and we are all here." It was great.
Right. Yeah, I loved it.
I love how it's just only locusts, not any other insects, because we had mosquitoes in the first movie that explained like the whole like how they got the DNA of the dinosaur. Like, could they have more insects in this movie? Like, interesting.
Big spider.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Oh my god.
What?
Have you seen Kraven the Hunter, Darren?
I have seen every comic book movie in theaters for the last like 6 years, and I have not seen Kraven the Hunter.
What?
I couldn't bring myself to. I was like, I don't care. Like, there's nothing there that makes me want to care. Is it good? Do you guys like it?
No, but it's hilarious. No, but it's really funny.
It's actually funny. Like, it's so bad, but it's so good. Like, in terms of like, okay, with Madam Web, sure, that was and then Morbius, it was okay. It wasn't good. But this one, it was just unexpected for Craven. It was like, this is so funny. It's not meant to be funny, but it is genuinely one of the most like fun cinema experiences I had this year. So yeah, give it a watch. Give it a watch if you're feeling like, if you want to watch something that's like that's bad, but it feels like you're just having a good time with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna get around to it, but I had this feeling at the end of the year. It's like, there's so many good movies I haven't watched. I kind of don't want to spend time on Craven when I could be watching, like, I don't know, something that good that, like, that did come out this year that I missed out on.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. If nothing, let me give you the thing that's going to change your mind. If nothing else, watch it, because in the main villain of the film, in his like second scene, like the scene that's like establishing him as a villain, he's like playing like fetch with his dog, and his dog won't give him the ball, and so he like like yells at his dog, and he's like, "I'm not weak, you're weak." And like the way that the film presents him as threatening is by having him yell at this little puppy who we all love. And it was that moment I was like, oh no, this is gonna be amazing, and it was hilarious.
I've seen some like bad like ADR clips from the movie where I'm like, oh
yes,
god, that looks bad.
That's the whole thing,
I'll definitely get around to watching it. It hasn't happened. It hasn't happened yet, unfortunately. But I know, like, just in terms of like Jurassic World, like, I love I've loved what we've heard. Like, what we've
Mm.
heard is this is supposed to be a smaller, more intimate Jurassic World movie, which is kind of what I've been wanting. You know, I love the idea of this, you know, slow down thriller. Just like we have to escape the building, or we just kind of, you know, it's like one dinosaur versus like a group of people kind of thing. That's much smaller scale and more intimate. And I think that's a really cool idea. If executed well, and I think like a fresh start to this franchise sounds exciting to me. I just hope like 4 bad Jurassic World movies in a row can't be like, I don't know if we can do that. I feel like you have to strike gold eventually. Again, I'm worried because it is next to Superman and Fantastic Four and all these movies I am excited for. But yeah, I think my number 4 is Jurassic World. Okay, Tom. You are now on your final pick here. You have one more movie.
Ooh, okay. Ooh.
This is big. This is big. Okay, I think that for the final one, see, part of me is like, I have to pick Captain America because it's Captain America, and I loved Falcon Winter Soldier, but I can't do it. I think I'm gonna go for Elio.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because I love original Pixar.
Yeah.
And I loved Elemental, and like, you know, every single, like what you were saying earlier, Darren, every single original kind of thing is always better than the sequels. I loved Elemental so much more than Inside Out 2 and you know, Lightyear, and I think Turning Red and Luca and Soul all fit into that equation.
Yeah, I agree. I think that probably would have also been my final pick. And I agree full-heartedly. Like, you know, like Pixar, I think they actually get a very bad rap over these last couple years that it just does not deserve. Like, I prefer this current era of Pixar more than like the late like 2010s of like Brave and stuff like that. Like Brave and Cars 2 and Finding Dory and stuff like that. Like, I think they're actually kind of on a hot streak right now. Where like I loved Luca, I loved Elemental, I loved Inside Out 2, I loved Turning Red, I loved Soul. Like, I think to me they're killing it. And you know, like this movie hasn't like convinced me yet, but I think that's what Pixar does best is they nearly never do until you're there, until you're in the cinema. And I feel like this is a return to, because there hasn't been I could be wrong. Oh no, there was Elemental in theaters, I guess. But like there hasn't been a lot of original Pixar in theaters these last couple of years. Like there so many was like those straight to like Disney Plus with Luca and Soul and Turning Red. So I think like another space Pixar movie in theaters is exciting for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited for Eli. Oh, yes, Tom is experiencing Wi-Fi issues, I think, at the moment. So,
okay,
he has disappeared. So, I'll talk about Elio for a bit and see. Maybe
he'll come back.
Yeah. With pick. It is Disney. This one, or Pixar. Eli. No, wait.
Elio, I think.
Elio, that's it. Yeah. With Elio, I think it looks exciting. He's back. He's
back.
He's back. Oh my god.
Sorry guys, his Wi-Fi is acting up. I have no idea what you heard and what you didn't hear.
No, we were just talking about Elio, and you disappeared. So I was like, "Oh my god, Tom!"
Disappeared just like this kid does inside the movie.
Oh
Maybe
my
god!
That was all part of my plan, actually.
Yeah.
The promotion, not promoted.
Yeah, I just think it's really. I love an original Pixar film, and so that excites me.
For sure. Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to hopefully be great again. Like, you know, I think Pixar still has it, man. Like, I think like when Pixar's not like watered down by Disney, like we've heard some, not to go into like a more political thing or whatever, but like they recently came out that their new show Win and Lose is going to be, things are going to be taken out of that show because of like how they think people will receive it. And you know, Lightyear was the same way. And it's like, just don't mess with Pixar, man. Like, I think if you just let
and
Pixar
Hoppers as well, right?
What's that?
And Hoppers as well is having stuff cut out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, environmentalist stuff
Yep.
as well, which is crazy.
They made Wall-E. Like, come on, like, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's frustrating. It's like, again, like, I think if you just, I still think Pixar is my favorite and potentially the best studio out there making movies. Like, I think they're one of the best of all time.
Yeah.
I think if you just let them cook, if you just let them work, I think they'll be fine. Just like let them do what they want to do. Obviously, I know you have to have some pushback sometimes on certain things, but like, let them make their movies. I don't know. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, with Pixar, I think it is an amazing studio. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, John, you are
Oh.
now on your final pick of today.
Interesting.
Oh man.
It's funny that I went from like Mickey 17, Avatar, then Minecraft. Well, to Ballerina, but then to Minecraft. Ooh, okay. I'm a bit conflicted about this because I'm like, with 28 years later, that does look crazy. With the cinematography in that film. But then again, I'm like leaning towards what was it that I was leaning towards? I just had it in my head. What is that the horror film The Monkey down there? Yes. I was leaning towards that. I was like, okay, there's some good old horror stuff that I want to go into. Then there's Tron Ares as well. That I'm like, okay, again, I love Daft Punk with that whole soundtrack they had for the first Tron movie. So I think I have to go with Captain America, Brave New World. So yeah, I feel like that's like the one that I feel like I'm also anticipated for, because I'm just so excited to see Sam Wilson as Captain America again.
Yeah.
You know, in this one. So I loved Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Well, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but it should be retconned as Captain America and the Winter Soldier in that one. But yeah, I think that one was a great TV show. I mean, it did drop the ball in the last episode for me, but I just loved Sam, like, being working on himself to be Captain America. In that TV show, we get to see his character arc, which is so fascinating to watch. Like, we were just like thinking of like, oh, is he going to be Captain America? Is he going to be, what Steve is like? And then you get to see that's wonderful montage in the show, and he becomes definitely Captain America. So I have read some like graphic novels where Sam Wilson is Captain America in those one, and they're just so cool. So I think this one as well, we got Red Hulk. I mean, Harrison Ford. I mean, how can you not like Harrison Ford as well in this one? It's like he's gonna be so confused, like in the press. It's like trying to answer Marvel questions, whatever. He's just there. He's just gonna be there. Yeah, I think this movie is gonna be pretty cool. Yeah.
This one's very complicated to me because I think like I'm so excited to have Sam Wilson back. Like, the fact that it's taken 4 years to get his own Captain America movie since his last appearance is very devastating. He should be on at least his second Captain America movie at this point. I think like he should be the lead of the MCU. He's earned that spot that, he is Captain America. It's cool to have Red Hulk back. It's cool to have Leader back. It's cool to get this new Falcon. I think there's a lot riding on this movie. I think I think we could have a really interesting story with Sam's, arc here, and about like really adapting, like, what is Captain America? Like, what does that mean to me and the people? And I think they're doing something really cool with like stakes that we haven't really seen in the MCU in a while, in my opinion. But there are just a lot of behind the scenes things that have me worried. Things that have been said, and the like pre-screenings that people have seen have said, haven't loved it, unfortunately. And there were controversies that kind of like, unfortunately, brought it down a little bit for me. Just because I think it just happens when it comes to controversies, unfortunately. But I'll be there day one. Like, it's so like, look at that poster. Look, it's Sam Wilson with a Hulk fist. Like, how hype is that?
That is pretty cool. And then that shot as well when Sam's wings like slices through the car.
Yeah.
It looks. I they must have done so much time for the VFX. With that, like, that is a really cool shot. So, man, it looks cool.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with both of you about like the reason to be excited and to be worried. But like, I think Falcon and Winter Soldier really posed some interesting questions about Sam, and the head writer of that show, Malcolm Spellman, is writing on this film in some capacity. I have no idea. Obviously, with all the reshoots and rewrites, maybe he wrote like one scene. Maybe Sam at one point is like, "Hello," and that's all that he wrote because this film has undergone so much. But I do think that, like, hopefully, I do really wanted to carry that same, understanding of Sam Wilson as a character and these questions about who Captain America is and who he can be. I'm really, really hoping that it is good.
Yeah. Like, very similar like concerns I had for Thunderbolts, where I said I could be one of the worst or one of the best. I think I have even more with this movie, where I could see this being a bottom 5 MCU movie with all the reshoots and all the restructurings and different things in place around people coming back into the studio. I could also see it being one of the best things they ever put out. It could go either way at the moment for me.
I do have some concerns about, for this movie. I mean, there was one shot in the trailer where Sam lands onto the ground, and it looked very awkward. I don't know, but yeah. But on to 2025, I guess. That one.
No. All right, I have one final pick here, and I'm struggling between two here that I can't quite decide. I mean, honorable mention, I think, is like The Day the Earth Blew Up, which is that Looney Tunes movie.
Yes.
And I think, and unfortunately isn't my pick, which I'm sad about, because I think my pick is very like corporate slob, unfortunately. But like, what's so exciting about this movie is it's, for one, the only theatrical Looney Tunes movie ever that's like in theaters. It's also a 2D animated movie in the cinema in the year 2025, in a world where Warner Brothers keeps fucking up the like Looney Tunes brand, in a world where Space Jam 2 was just kind of like like it was kind of just like, oh, cameo the movie. And then what happened to Coyote versus Acne? Like, this is a movie where I'm like, we must support it.
Acne. Yeah.
I'm so sad about that movie. I'm so pissed at what they did.
I'm so sad about that. Like Coyote, like Wildy Coyote. That's one of my favorite Looney Tunes character. Like, I love the like episodes. Just looking at like Coyote and then just Roadrunner. It just had so much, like fun. They just want to do whatever for it and just make it wacky. So I miss those days, like just watching Looney Tunes and just like seeing all the chaos that just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I really hope audiences show up, because if they don't, I mean, what's it going to tell Warner Brothers? It's going to tell them that there's no interest in these films and that just stop making them. And I am even worried that it's even going to be released in the UK. Like, there's a very real possibility that this film just won't see the light of the glorious UK cinemas, and that does suck, because I will be there 100% if I get the chance to be. But it will be really disappointing if like this kind of film just kind of flops, and then like the Muppets. Like, I'm so heartbroken by the lack of Muppets that we've had in the last 10 years. And I think this is. It's now 11 years now that we're in 2025, and so it's like we haven't had a Muppet movie in so long, and I don't want Looney Tunes to be put in that same horrible. You know, I mean, we got the Lego minifigure series, but is that all we get for Looney Tunes and the Muppets?
Yeah, they need to get more love. Looney Tunes.
Yeah, that's their entire brand. Like that's where they got their start. That's like if Disney was like, no more Mickey Mouse. Actually, we're done with him, which sucks.
Yeah, but like I grew up with Space Jam, like just watching it, just like look at it now. It is not like a good movie, but I love it. I still love it, just like for like nostalgia reasons. I just like because it kind of like got me into like basketball, just like looking at it and just like seeing how fun it is. So
yeah,
I miss Looney Tunes.
Yeah, but for my final pick, I think this one has to be on my list, but I kind of hate it's on my list. I feel guilty about it. That is How to Train Your Dragon. Unfortunately,
No.
I know I don't like it.
Oh.
Because it is just like I said, it's kind of like I don't like what they've said about this movie. Everyone was praising this trailer when this came out. I'm like, oh my gosh, it looks so good! It looks so good. And I was like, well, yeah, because it looks like the exact same movie that you've seen. Like it looks exactly, it looks amazing because it's shot for shot one of the greatest movies ever made. But I am a How to Train Your Dragon fiend at the end of the day. I would probably watch anything they put out for this franchise, and unfortunately, that does include this one. I'll be curious because they originally stated out by saying, "Hey, this is a new story. We're telling this new story with this," and I was like, okay, I'm hoping for that, but I haven't seen any of that in the marketing in that first trailer. Like that first trailer looks exactly like the original, like shot for shot. I hope they do some fun, interesting things. I know it's based on books that the movies didn't adapt, so I was always like, okay, adapt the books. Like that would be an interesting twist on the formula.
Have either of you two read any of the books?
No, I haven't.
No, I haven't.
Because I used to read them, and when they announced this, I was like, "Oh my god, here we go! It's gonna be little scrawny Hiccup and little tiny baby Toothless, and Toothless can talk, and it's gonna be really cool and wacky." And I understand why they didn't want to do that because riding dragons is really cool, but God, what a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I hate like obviously I think the director of the anime movies coming back for these, I think is a good sign. I think that's that makes me happy. But I don't know if you guys heard this, but like he had said basically like if I didn't come back for this movie, they would have got someone else to do it instead. And I hate this idea that I hate this obligation that he felt like he had. Like he signed on because he didn't want someone else to do it worse than him in a way. And that's not art to me. That's obligation. That's that just seems like, and I know this is weird. I'm bagging on a movie that's in my most anticipated list here, but I don't love that. But also it's how to I don't know. I hear the music in the trailer while I'm in the cinema, and I go to another plane of existence. I will be there. Unfortunately, I'll be there day one. I'll see Toothless and Hiccup and all these guys again. I just hope they can tell a new story with this. I hope they can tell an interesting story that they couldn't do in the animated format. I hope they do something really cool.
That is very important to in terms of adaptation, what are they gonna do differently this time? That is very important, doing that.
Yeah, they could totally pull something different, and that could save the whole thing. But I mean, might seem really weird and out of left field, but I feel like with every passing year, The Matrix Resurrections becomes even more relevant to me because that film is about the nature of a reboot and that very same notion of if you don't want to do it, we'll find someone who will. And I kind of really respect that, and I feel like maybe I'll come back to that film that I thought was fine, but I didn't love it. I think maybe I'll go back to it and I'll be like, wow, this is kind of a microcosm of everything that we're experiencing.
Yeah. Pretty meta.
And it is why?
Yeah, it is a scary time, I think, for a film where it's I can defend a sequel, I can defend a reboot. From a studio perspective, I can understand it. Where it's those are the movies people like talking about. Those are the movies that get attention. Those are the movies that people go to see. You know, it's much harder to market a original movie. It just plain and simple is. Like you can have, just like D23 this year, I think is a great example of this. You had Hoppers get announced. Nobody talked about it. Nobody cared because they don't know what it is. But then you announce Incredibles 3. That was that was the thing of the entire event. Oh my gosh, they're doing a third one. This is crazy. And I think that's just how, like, I can understand why people do it. I just wish they would pace them out better. I wish they would pace them out in between those original movies, and
especially with DreamWorks as well, because as you said, Wild Robot, and I think Puss in Boots as well. And I've heard great things about The Bad Guys, even though I haven't seen it. And I mean, DreamWorks has, obviously, and there have been sequels in there, and there have, there's been like the Trolls films and, various, but they've never done a live action remake. They've never stooped that low, and that might be a bit of an extreme way to describe it, but that's kind of how I feel. And that is the biggest shame of all. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it is the like main Universal studio. So it's not technically going to be under the like animated studio and stuff like that, which that's good at least, right? But also you bring up a good point where it's like this could be their testing ground to see if people would watch more of those, like would we get a live action Shrek or
live action Boss Baby, everyone.
Oh god
get ready.
No.
Get ready. But it's still Alex Baldwin.
Madagascar and gosh,
live action is pretty hard, I have to say, because it's like there are some stuff that I love in an animation form, but then once it gets turned into live action, like what are they gonna do? Then again, I have to bring up Cowboy Bebop because I love Cowboy Bebop. But then it got turned into live action. Netflix did that, and it hurts. It hurts a lot. So
and it should also be mentioned, like we talked about Kung Fu Panda 4 at the beginning of the stream. But like he was told how much behind the scenes issues was in that movie. And all those things, and like apparently at one point in time, Kung Fu Panda 4 was almost a CGI hybrid movie. And it's like, how'd you get there? Like, how did you come to that conclusion? So, that tells me they're not against making those kind of movies. They're open to it if it will make them money. So like, I think this movie is going to do very well, like successfully in box office wise. So it's like, what's next? Like what's next for the studio? I don't know. But I mean, as we're kind of coming to the end here, like, is there any others on this list that we didn't pick that you guys want to give a shout out to, that you're excited for? Things that maybe I didn't put on this list that you're also excited for?
Interesting. Okay, let's scour and just see what's on here. Okay, so there's one on the right. I'm not gonna watch this. It's not really under my radar, but this one, Steamboat. Or it's
Steamboat Willie,
Steamboat.
That's what that is.
Yeah, that's Steamboat Willie.
It's a Steamboat Willie. It's the like live action horror movie they're doing now that Steamboat Willie's public domain.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not gonna watch it, but it's just like it's like when things get turned into public domain, it's like what on earth they're gonna create, and then they made into horror. It's odd, isn't it? Like now we've got like Winnie the Pooh that turned into horror, and then other public domain. I don't know. There's other ones, but most like noticeably that I've known is Winnie the Pooh that just got turned into horror. So now this is also a horror. So yeah, let's see with that one.
We have the like Peter Pan over here, which is like in the same universe.
Wait, that's Peter Pan?
That's Peter Pan, and like I don't know if you guys heard, but they're planning an entire like cinematic universe. So they have Bambi coming, and they have a bunch
Pan
of
universe. Oh my!
Did they do Pinocchio as well? Did I imagine that?
No, it's in the work. I think that's also this year technically.
Okay. Right.
And then they're doing like their Avengers movie where they all come together, which is like, which I mean honestly I do respect because it is so indie. Like they are like this little indie company and they're making so much money from these.
Sony never got there. Sony never did the Sinister Six, and yet these guys are gonna make their Avengers.
Exactly.
That's got a sting.
Yeah.
Oof. What's the movie below? Is it Saw? Or is that Scream? I don't know which one with the numbers. There's
Here?
a bunch of numbers. Yeah. What's below that?
Below Avatar?
No. The movie below, like on top of Tom's Wicked. What's on top of Wicked?
Oh, the person in the suit.
Yeah, what's that?
That is Michael. That's the Michael Jackson biopic they're making.
Oh,
wow. Well, that's interesting. Okay, recently I watched Better Man because I was like, I feel like this is enough to, break my. It's not really a rule, but I don't really go for music biopics. But Robbie Williams is a monkey, so I have to see it.
For that.
Right, and I watched it, and it wasn't bad, but it reaffirmed not even a Robbie Williams monkey can make me like this kind of subgenre, because all the movies feel so the same and so kind of narcissistic. And I feel like a Michael Jackson movie that's not going to address any of the controversies, not going to address it's going to feel I think we said manufactured. Isn't it his nephew who's playing him and all? I don't know, man. It just doesn't feel right. Like, we had Back to Black earlier this year, which was an Amy Winehouse film that really watered down the way that a lot of the men in her life really kind of used her and kind of in many ways led to her death, and that felt wrong. This is probably going to feel wrong too. I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with me, or 100% agree with you. Where it's like, I'm excited for this movie. I think if for nothing else, the music I think is gonna be really fun to see.
I agree with you on that. Yeah,
but it is when you're making a movie about someone's life and you're not using the most interesting parts of their life, it's like, why are we doing it?
Yeah.
But what I think, what I am curious about is the box office, because I do think it could be, I could see it being this $1 billion biopic movie, which has never happened before. If any artist is going to get there, levels. It's him. Yeah, if anyone's getting there, it's Michael Jackson.
Yeah, it is hard when it comes to biopics as well. Well, Bohemian Rhapsody. It is a very odd film when you look into Bohemian Rhapsody. Everybody at the time loved it. No joke, everyone here in England loved that movie. They just had so much time in the cinema. But then once I reflected it recently, okay, what was that film? I don't really remember much of it, and it is a very twisted truth of what Queen is like. It doesn't really go into the deeper emotional side of Freddie Mercury. I just feel like it's just something that. There you go. That was it. That it just didn't really go into a moment in time. It just went across to it just glossed over so many important things, and it just kind of messed up the timeline and stuff. So again, it's and the editing on that film is atrocious as well. I just want to add that in.
God.
And I don't know how we got an Oscar for that, but with that, with musicals, with biopics, it's you need to tell the truth of that world and how you're going to do it. I think Rocket Man does that in it. Very interesting. I haven't seen that film in a while, but I think that it was one of the most memorable biopics, I think, in recent years, I think.
Yeah, I think the Beatles one has potential, since that's going to be, the Beatles 4, 4 films, all different perspectives. Whether or not they'll go through with that, that's a really interesting idea. Sam Mendes is already a very interesting filmmaker. And so, you make the same, story from those 4 different perspectives. I feel like you might get away with it a little bit to do a little bit more telling different truths, because you're telling it from their perspective. And I don't know, I feel like that hooks me. Maybe that's because I'm a massive Beatles fan,
Sure.
and the reason why people love Bohemian Rhapsody largely, general audiences, because they just got to go and watch Queen at this, just listen to Queen songs in the cinema.
Yeah.
And Darren, you're right. I mean, I'm a massive Michael Jackson fan, and I probably will go and see, his film just to, groove to Michael Jackson in the cinema. You won't get many other opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that with music, because you know, you just want to vibe to it really with that. But then,
Yeah.
are they going to tell the truth and something like that? So it's a bit awkward. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's a bit of a moral dilemma.
yeah,
Sure.
especially more dilemmas. Yeah.
I want to talk about a film that isn't on there, but it's
Okay.
Wildwood, which is the new Leica film.
Oh
the studio behind-
yeah.
yeah, Coraline, Paranorman, Box Trolls, Missing Link,
Oh, cool.
Cuba and the Two Strings. Darren, when you mentioned that Pixar is like your favorite studio, for me that's Leica. I mean, similarly
fair. That's
animation,
fair.
but like they've made like 5 films, and they're all pretty just like range from great to just perfect.
Sure.
The Coraline re-released it amazingly at the cinema last year, and that had like that little tease beforehand for Wildwood. We know nothing about it. I don't want to know anything about it. I just know that it's coming. This like Leica is a fascinating studio. Their CEO, I mean, I might be getting this all the details wrong, but broad strokes, the CEO is like the son of like the owner of Nike, and so like all the money from the shoe brand, they
They're
just
collaborations.
they just made this like studio, and even though they don't make a lot of money, and like Coraline is their only like massive hit, they can just make these like really intricate and really like artistic films and this incredible animation just because they've got all the Nike money, and I love it. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, that's just prime example of what we were kind of talking about at the start, where it's like a lot of the big movies that we just don't kind of hear about at the start of the year because it's not like big franchises or big, it's not Marvel or DC or Disney or whatever.
Yeah.
I think just 2 on this list that wouldn't be in my top 5 or anything, but I am excited for. I am excited for Megan 2.0. I think I really enjoyed that first movie. I don't like quote unquote scary movies, and I don't think this is a scary movie, but it kind of gives me the vibe of like it's like watered down scary movie for me because I don't like getting scared. So that one was a lot of fun for me. I was like, yeah, I'm excited to see a potential sequel from that. And Bad Guys 2, I'm weirdly excited for. You guys said that you hadn't seen it previously. I thought the first one was really solid. I think it's a very, I think DreamWorks is one of the most inconsistent studios out there. I think they'll put out some of the greatest movies of all time, and then they'll put out like Trolls 3 or whatever. It's like, okay. I think Bad Guys is in the middle of the road for that, where it's no Puss in Boots or Wild Robot, but it's no like Kung Fu Panda 4 kind of thing.
Yeah. That's interesting because Puss in Boots was like in the middle of the road, and then The Last Wish comes out, and it's like, hold on, is this the greatest film ever made? Maybe.
I don't understand them. I don't understand. Like again, this year, you can have Wild Robot and Kung Fu Panda 4, and it's like something's happening. Like you, like there's not really a lot of consistency between project to project.
Yeah, it's a wild contrast, isn't it? It's just like, what? Well, okay, we went on to like, it was okay to peak,
Yeah, I wonder if that's because like when it comes to DreamWorks, at least last year, it was like all the executive producers were like focused on Kung Fu Panda and them trying to make that film right and kind of messing with the art of it, and they probably just let Wild Robot do their thing because they thought, okay, this film costs less, we're putting less into it, but it will make less money. But then no, that one was the one that they let them cook. And then wow, whereas Kung Fu Panda, all the meddling happened, and that's what they focused on. Like that's the worrying thing almost.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I'm concerned for Wild Robot Part 2, where it's like, well, that was the big film for them this year. Will 2 be like, well, we gotta make it perfect. We gotta, we gotta do all these things, and maybe then that's where we kind of start messing up a little bit.
I hope not.
We'll see. But yeah, no, that's all I have today. I want to give a big thank you to both you, Tom and John, for being here today. I had an absolute
thanks
blast.
for having us.
Thank you for having us there. I had such a fun time just talking about the films, upcoming films for 2025. Yeah,
it's gonna be so good.
No, it was such a, again, like this is one of my favorite episodes I get to do every year because it's just like full of potential, full of all these movies could be excellent. They could all also be terrible. Like we don't know. We're just kind of setting the standard. But for those who don't know where to find you, where can we both find you guys?
John, do you want to take this one?
Well, you can find us at on YouTube. At the time, we can follow us on Instagram at the time film pod, and you can see our amazing thumbnails as well. And if you want to see that, but then there's Twitter as well. We've got Out of Time Tom, and there's Out of Time John. So if you want to see our thoughts, I don't give out much thoughts on Twitter. Well, it's called X. It's a stupid name.
We're not calling it that.
No, it's just Twitter. Just Twitter. But yeah, you do get to see more of that on us. But then it's our channel is Out of Time Film Podcast. We make videos weekly, just talking about the films that we watched. So
this week we're talking about the best films of 2024. So if you want to tune in on Sunday, you'll find out some of our picks for some of our favorites, and then from there, you know what we're going to be covering because we've talked about it all on this stream. But we're going straight into recapping the Captain America film. So we're going to be doing the original 3 before we get to Brave New World, and a bunch of other stuff, TV as well. So if you're interested,
loads of superhero content as well that we've got. For Daredevil, which I'm really excited for.
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah, no, I'll be very curious, and I'll be watching your content very closely, where I'm like, oh, we talked about that now. Okay, let me check that out.
Yes.
Let's see what they actually thought about the movie. If they were right or if they were completely wrong, we'll see. Again, thank you guys. It was so much fun. In terms of my promotion, I have to get out of the way. We'll be doing After the Credits this Monday. I think we're going to be doing. We're finally covering What If Season 3. That's going to be interesting. And then join me this time next week, the Pipeline next week. We're doing our Ben 10 19th anniversary stream. We'll be talking about, I'm trying to get the crew together I got last year. That was very much fun. And join me through 2025. I have a lot of plans. I have a lot of excitements. My goal for the year is to get in a lot of new people that I didn't get on within the last year. I want to reach out to more people. I reached out to these guys last year, and I was like, oh, it's like these guys are awesome. I feel like I made 2 new friends here, and I had a blast kind of having you guys back. Thank you everybody who's been in the chat today. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, without further ado, I will see you guys on the flip side. Bye bye.